Hey everybody, it's Kelly from Ready Set Drone, and today I have a video that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been flying for probably about 4 years now, and I've been noticing some mistakes that people that I'm teaching or even people that I see out on fields are making. They're all very avoidable, but they are all detrimental to your flight experience. So I thought I'd go through them really quick. Seven rookie mistakes that a lot of drone pilots make, both beginners and more advanced pilots. So whether you're new to the hobby or you just want to see if you can get a little bit better, here are my 7 mistakes that you can avoid very easily. Number 1, people try to turn their start their quadcopter or hexcopter or whatever it is up without having it on a level surface. Now, some of these have an on-off switch and some of them don't. Regardless, you don't want to power up while you're holding it like this, because it basically sets the accelerometers, the gyros, everything inside there to tell it that this is level. What it's looking for when you power it up is, what does level look like and how can I fly stable and level. If you're finding that your quadcopter is drifting really hard to one side or the other, turn it off, set it on flat surface, and then turn it back on and make sure that everything boots up in a flat level position. You'll find that when you do that consistently, you'll get a really nice level hover no matter what the situation. The number 2 mistake I see a lot is the pilot getting disoriented when the craft has yawed left or right. And what I mean by that is, typically when you're beginning, you're going to have the craft facing away from you. Now, I'm talking about when you're flying in normal mode, not in headless mode. Headless mode is a different story. But let's say that you're flying it in normal mode, as you should learn to do. When you fly the craft and it's facing away from you and you push the stick left, it's going to go left. You push the stick forward, it's going to go forward away from you. However, if the craft is turned, let's say it's facing you and you don't know it because it's too far away to tell, you push the stick right, it's going to go left. You push the stick left, it's going to go right. You push the stick away from you, it's going to come towards you. You pull the stick back and it's going to go away from you. It's backwards, because it's just like if you ever took theater or you've ever been on a stage, stage left is the opposite of house left for the audience. So basically, you've always got to keep in mind which direction the craft is facing and orient yourself towards the nose of the craft so that you know that if it's like this and I push the stick right, it's going to go right and away from me. If it's like this and I push the stick right, it's going to go left from my position. So basically, when you start off, it's good to learn to fly the thing with the back of the craft always facing you and the nose always facing away. So as much as you can orient the yaw, don't even play with the yaw that much except to keep it in that position when you're first learning. As you get better, practice flying in circles with the nose always going and using your yaw to make circles rather than just keeping it oriented with the back towards you. And then eventually, you'll get very comfortable to where no matter which way it's facing, you'll know which way it's going to turn if you push the stick a certain direction. The number 3 thing I see a lot of people do, and this happens pretty often with the bigger craft as well as the smaller ones, but when they have the landing gear that elevates them a little bit, there's a thing called ground effect. And ground effect is essentially the rotors pushing down on the air, pulling air through, and creating a lot of pressure down here. The air has nowhere to go because of all the force. And what that does is it creates a little bit of a bubble that the craft is sitting on and can cause it to flip over. So the thing I've noticed people doing wrong is not giving enough gas or enough throttle when they're trying to get off the ground. They kind of give it a little bit, it goes up a little bit, it gets on that bubble and it flips over. So the number 3 thing I would say to avoid is when you're taking off or landing, making sure that you're giving the appropriate amount of throttle. And on takeoff, giving it quite a bit of throttle is okay. Once you're 3 or 4 feet off the ground, you can back off in that throttle and level out. But what you don't want to be doing is hovering over that ground effect where it'll flip the craft over and cause you prop damage or worse. The number 4 thing I see people do a lot is fly their batteries too far down on the drainage scale. And what I mean by that is LiPo batteries are not designed to be discharged 100% like older batteries were. You basically want to see if you can keep your batteries at 20% or above. Now on the Phantom 3, Phantom 4, you've got all kinds of telemetry on your tablet that's telling you where your batteries are. So it's pretty easy to keep track. You even have little LEDs on the back of the battery that are telling you, hey, this has got 4 bars, so it's full. This has got 2 bars, so it's 50%. It's got 1 bar, so it's 25%. My point being that on these smaller ones, you don't. So with these, you're going to want to set a timer. The manufacturer will tell you this will fly 7 to 10 minutes. So set your timer for 6 minutes and bring it in after 6 minutes so that you don't run the battery all the way down or risk it falling out of the sky on top of somebody or on something you don't want to fall on. For the bigger craft that give you some telemetry data, I recommend setting an alert at 30% and starting to bring it in then, because if you go down below 30%, you're going to need that time it'll drop from 30 to 20 pretty quickly, and you're going to need that time to get it landed safely nearby and recover the craft. The number 5 thing I see a lot of people do is fly their crafts way too high or way too far away very quickly. Now, why do I say that? Because first of all, according to the FAA, you should not be flying over 400 feet in the air anyway for safety, and I'm a big proponent of following that rule. But the second thing is, believe it or not, you can actually go up a lot faster than you can come down. And why is that? Because you can only come down at a rate that keeps it under a safe control before you kill you could just kill the engines and just let it drop and it would come down very fast, but you don't want to do that. So as you're going up, you don't realize you're climbing really, really fast. And if you're flying at a very high altitude, you can only come down at a rate that's going to keep it under control. So you're going to want to make sure that you take into account how far away and how high you are before you run your battery way down. I've seen people get misoriented with these things, and on these little guys that don't have any data coming back from them, don't have any FPV or live stream, it's very easy to get them pretty far away from you, get them caught in the wind, get misoriented. So remember, with these bigger craft, if you're 2 miles away and 300 feet in the air, you better make sure that you have plenty of battery life to get you home and back on the ground safely. And with these little craft, really these should be line of sight and very close to you all the time, because ultimately when they get far away, you're not going to be able to bring them back in time, especially if you're fighting wind or something, before they're going to eventually just, without warning, drop out of the sky and either get lost or damaged or hurt somebody. The number 6 thing that I've had happen myself numerous times is avoiding the large stuff like buildings, houses, people, cars, but hitting the small stuff like power lines and small branches. Keep in mind that you really can't see some of those things from a distance. And so if you're flying line of sight or if you're flying FPV, power lines are very hard to see. And stay away from them. Scout the area before you fly and make sure that if you're going to fly among the trees, that you're in a clear area with the trees, that you're not going to run into a branch or something. You know, it's just as easy to hit something going up or coming backwards as it is going forward. Most people are pretty aware of the direction that their quad is flying and avoid hitting things in front of them, but they're not always very aware of what's above or below them, and it's easy to crash into a power line, a tree branch, or anything like that. So don't make that mistake. And the final thing is coming in too hot or at too much of an angle and crashing when you land. I talked a minute ago about the ground effect. The best thing you can do every time is take off and land directly up and down. Get it up in the air and then take off forward. Don't try to take off and go forward at the same time. Your odds of flipping are pretty high. And don't try to come in for a landing like this and land it like that. You've got forward momentum, the thing's going to roll, and you're going to damage it. So be aware as you're coming in for a landing that the best thing to do is get it where you want it to be. I always like to actually get it facing away from me so that I have the left is left, right is right thing going. You know, I'm looking at the same perspective as my craft, and then bring it down slowly. Another option is to hand catch it. You know, you can bring it in like this, hover it, and then carefully with one hand grab the landing gear. Now these don't have landing gear, but I have been able to have them come down and catch them like this. But of course you're going to want to kill the throttle and make sure you're pretty comfortable with it, because you don't want to get hit by these blades. They're plastic, but they can still hurt. So those are my top 7 drone rookie mistakes. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please subscribe. Feel free to comment below. I'm sure there's other mistakes that people make all the time that I didn't include. I just wanted to put in the ones that I felt were most common. If this video was helpful to you, please feel free to subscribe, recommend it to your friends. Fly safe, have fun, and we'll see you next time.